Hello, my name is M. I use they, them, or she, her pronouns, and this is my fourth and final video for my series on non-binary and gender non-conforming identities. Since this is the last video, I just want to say again that this series has been the final project for the independent study that I have been doing this semester. This independent study is a requirement for my psychology degree through the University of Colorado, Denver. I also want to give another huge thank you to my sponsor, Dr. Bihun. This has been an absolutely wild semester for me, and you have been such a huge help and support, and I really appreciate you dealing with my shenanigans. Now, in this video, I am going to be talking about the mental health of non-binary individuals. I will be talking about the unique challenges that non-binary people face, as well as the unique joy that being non-binary can bring a person. There is so much rhetoric in our society that if you are transgender or non-binary, then you must be unhappy in your body and yourself, leaving the impression that having a gender that doesn't match the one you were born with is an inherently miserable experience. This view about gender nonconformity is something that likely stems from the Western medicalization deeming the experience a disorder. I went into depth about the Western view of gender nonconformity in my previous video, so check that out to make sure you know what I'm talking about. In that video, I mentioned the concept of gender dysphoria briefly, and I want to expand on that further here. Gender dysphoria is considered a mental condition, and in the DSM-5 it is described as a strong and impairing desire to be another gender. The treatment for gender dysphoria most commonly involves transitioning, or going through medical or surgical changes to help your body match your gender. I want to again emphasize that the definitions for gender dysphoria and transitioning are heavily connected with Western medicine and the gender binary, and do not necessarily capture the experience of dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is something that transgender and non-binary people can experience that can be quite debilitating. Many describe it as a feeling of disconnect from their body, like there are parts of their body that do not belong to them. Sometimes dysphoria manifests itself in other ways, like in social situations. Some people will feel uncomfortable if people perceive them as a gender that is not theirs. The term transitioning also does not necessarily capture the experience that a transgender or non-binary person goes through, as it implies that the process will be linear, that it will have a clear beginning and a clear end, which is not necessarily true. One term that I came across in my research that encapsulates the experience better is gender embodiment, and it acknowledges the fact that being non-binary or transgender involves much more than just changing your body. Being non-binary is also an inner awareness and state of being to be actualized through the changes a person chooses to undergo. Unfortunately, non-binary and gender non-conforming people face unique mental health challenges due to their experiences of dysphoria and also their lack of feeling like they belong in our society. Non-binary people are more likely to struggle with anxiety and depression than their cisgender peers. Researchers have theorized that this is because cisgender people have no problem fitting into society, whereas, on the other hand, many people have a hard time wrapping their head around what it means to be non-binary and struggle to make non-binary people feel accepted. Due to the fact that Western society is so greatly shaped by the gender binary, those who do not fit into that binary feel like they do not fit into the society. It results in some gender nonconforming people feeling isolated and alone, making them even more prone to depression and anxiety, and it also drastically increases their risk for self-harm and suicidality as well. It has also been shown that non-binary people are at a unique risk for developing eating disorders. Some non-binary people develop disordered eating behaviors in an attempt to manipulate their body shape to match their gender better. I will not discuss this topic further because because I know that talking about eating behaviors and body image can be very triggering and damaging. Instead, I will say that all bodies are beautiful and lovable, no matter what size or gender. In order to help non-binary people not be so vulnerable to mental illnesses, it is important to create a society that is accepting and understanding of them, so that they feel like they belong and are loved and have the support they need. Even though non-binary people are much more at risk for mental illnesses than their cisgender peers, being non-binary is so much more than that. It is simply not true that being gender non-conforming is an entirely miserable experience, as there is so much joy that can come from identifying outside of the binary. This experience is called gender euphoria, and is defined as an overwhelming feeling of satisfaction and contentment when parts of yourself or your expression match your gender. Non-binary people have described gender euphoria as a breath of fresh air, a moment of elation, and pure joy and contentment. To provide an example, some non-binary people who are assigned female at birth will wear a chest binder, which is an undergarment that flattens their breasts to give the appearance that they have a flat chest. And many people say that the first time they put on a chest binder, they couldn't stop smiling just because it felt so right. Many non-binary people say that they feel beautiful and loved when they are allowed to express themselves however they want to. Gender euphoria can come from so many different sources, such as how a person dresses, what their voice sounds like, and even how people talk about them. Using a non-binary person's name and pronouns correctly is something that can make them feel incredibly euphoric. Providing a space where non-binary people can feel safe expressing themselves and where they feel accepted, understood, and loved by the people around them would make gender euphoria a much more common experience for non-binary individuals. And that is all I have for my project. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask in the comments, and I would love to answer them. Thank you again, Dr. Bihun, for everything this semester. I really appreciate you. Thank you for watching my videos. Bye!